Hi, today I'll be explaining why the League of Nations failed to maintain peace during the 1930s. Although the League of Nations was created to prevent conflict, by 1930s it was largely ineffective. The failure was mainly due to weak environment, lack of cooperation from major powers, and the rise of aggressive nations. One major reason for the failure was the collapse of disarmament efforts. Disarmament had been the key goal of the League, but by the early 1930s it was clear that this aim was not being achieved. While Germany initially been forced to disarm, other countries did not follow. At the World Disarmament Conference in 1932, disagreements quickly emerged. The Great Depression made countries prioritize their own security, and rising tensions made them unwilling to reduce their military strength. When Hitler came to power, he demanded equal rights to rearm. After this was rejected, Hitler withdrew from both conference and the League in 1933. This marked a turning point, as it encouraged other countries to rearm and weaken the League further. Another key reason for failure was the League's inability to respond effectively to acts of aggression. An example is the Manchurian Crisis in 1931. Japan invaded Manchuria, and although the League condemned the action and investigated, it took too long to respond. By the time a decision was made, Japan had secured control of the region. When the League called for a withdrawal, Japan simply ignored it and left the League. This showed that the League had no real power to enforce its decisions. A similar failure occurred during the Abyssinian Crisis of 1935. When Italy invaded Abyssinia, the League once again condemned the aggression and introduced sanctions. However, these sanctions were limited and did not include key resources like oil, making them ineffective. Britain and France were also reluctant to take a stronger action because they wanted to keep Italy as an ally against Germany. As a result, Italy successfully conquered Abyssinia and then left the League. This further damaged the League's credibility. The League also failed to respond to ongoing conflicts like the Spanish Civil War. Although foreign powers were heavily involved, the League chose to not intervene, treating it as an internal issue. Germany and Italy supported one side, while the Soviet Union supported the other, turning the conflict into a broader ideological struggle. The League's inaction once again demonstrated its inability to maintain peace. In addition, the League struggled as aggressive nations continued to expand. Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China in 1937, but the League took no effective action. By this point, both Japan and Germany had already left the League, and Italy had also withdrawn. Without these major powers, the League lost much of its influence. Another important factor was the changing attitudes towards countries like Britain and France. Both nations were weakened by the Great Depression and feared another major war. As a result, they prioritized their own national interests over collective security. Instead of enforcing League decisions, they often compromised or enacted. This lack of commitment made the League ineffective.